Hey loves, Imaya here, the psycho-spiritual therapist with another video. Today we're going to be breaking down the mechanics of belief systems and in particular negative belief systems. We're going to discover why they are so sticky and tricky. So before we dive in, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, my neighbors seem to be having all sorts of fun today at party, so I apologize for any noise in the background. So before we dive into the subject of negative beliefs, we first have to understand something about life, which is that life wants to keep on living. It wants to keep on growing. You know, for something to keep perpetuating itself, for it to be prolific, it needs to expand. It needs to grow. It needs to learn. This is what we tend to call positive. So in this video, when I mention the terms positive and negative, I'm not speaking in terms of good and bad, right and wrong. No, I'm simply speaking about that which enables life, which supports life, which is growth, expansion. If you want a plant to grow, you need to feed it, you need to water it, it needs sunshine, all those things. And for life to die out, it needs to oppose itself, which nature doesn't really do. It's only human beings that do that, it's simply irrational, it's illogical. We're going against ourselves. This is what is suffering, and this is what, for the purpose of this video, I will refer to as negative. It's simply going against life. And there's only so far you can go until the physical vessel just says no, to here and no further. You know, it's the same principle again with sticking your hand in the fire. You are free to do that. That is free will. But you are not free to keep on living standing in the fire for too long. You understand what I'm saying? Like, your consciousness will go on, but it will recycle itself. In this plane, that means game over. And so this is what we refer to with positive beliefs and negative beliefs. And positive beliefs, it's aligning yourself with yourself. It's aligning yourself with a cycle that increases, that adds to itself. It's integrative, and it keeps growing and expanding and proliferating. And a negative cycle means that you're going against yourself. You're making yourself extinct, and this is why it hurts. So negative beliefs simply means you're doing something that is different than what you intrinsically are. And the most basic way to explain this is love. The word we usually typically use when we're, describing what we are. And then there is fear, which is not the opposite of love, it is the absence of love. But the experience is the opposite of love. So when we live in a state of fear, which is has become our default. There's a giant ant playing with my camera. This hurts, because to go deep into a fear cycle, in the end, what would that mean? You would kill yourself. That's the ultimate state of fear, the ultimate state of separation, the ultimate state of going against who and what you truly are. And life, it's going against life. All right, so now that we have that cleared up, hopefully, I want to explain why negative beliefs that make your world seem negative, anything in your world that you experience as negative has to come from a negative belief system or a negative definition. Why they are so tricky. First of all, because everything wants to keep living. But something that is opposing life can't keep on living. Like, this is what war shows. War is two groups of people somehow thinking that if they're gonna keep killing each other, that somehow we win. This is what you're doing inside of yourself with negative beliefs. You're killing yourself with the hopes of winning. And here is why negative beliefs are so sticky. Because they are not true, and they know it. And what happens, you can imagine, have you ever been with someone who's like telling a lie? You know how they behave. They don't want to give in. They don't want to be caught. They don't want to be found out. And so they'll pull out all the stops and all the tricks. And they'll put up a fight. This is what a negative belief does inside of you. And this is why they can be so insidious. And they're giving it their all to make us believe in the negative belief, and that is what is happening continuously. So, like I said, positive and negative are equally valid. They're not right or wrong, bad or good. It's just what errs on the side of positive is that which is life-giving. It will keep on going. And this is what life wants. This is what consciousness wants. So, in that sense, the positive is always more true. Slightly more true. Not more valid as an experience. Negative, therefore, has less power. Because you know, life, without opposing it, if you leave nature alone, it will keep on going. That what is against life can only go so far. You can cut yourself, you can harm yourself, you can starve yourself. If you put a gun to your head, and you should, this physical vessel will be dead. It will be non-existent. It is against life. So, because negative beliefs have less power, it's not, do you know the torus shape? It's like energy that keeps feeding itself. Negativity or fear or anything that's not true is not in that cycle. So it needs another way to keep itself going. Just as a liar needs to work extra hard because he needs to convince you and himself. If you live in truth, then no matter what anyone says to you, like, okay, so let's take this as an example. If you say the sky is blue, you don't really care if someone says the sky is purple, don't you? But if you're really caught up in a story of how the sky is purple and you need others to believe that, you have added on to the sky being purple this whole issue of if people don't believe you, then that's an issue, and da-da-da. Because this is also the thing, like, we're afraid, or our belief systems are afraid of being found out because it annihilates them in a way. It doesn't annihilate them, it annihilates your allegiance to them. So to a belief system that feels like dying. And this is why belief systems fight so hard, and this negative belief system fights so hard. Positive belief systems don't have to fight so hard. And this is why initially it can be very hard to overcome, to even fight the negative beliefs that we have, because we believe them. No questions asked. So, how does someone who is trying to convince you of a lie behave? There's just, or someone who wants to be right. There's a lot of justification going on. There's a lot of rationalization going on. There's a lot of convincing. So this is a good sign. This is if you have to rationalize, if you're living something and it causes you pain, it causes you confusion, and you question it, and you find the belief system or the definition that is causing you to feel a certain way. And if you feel any stories arising as to why you should hold on to this belief, then that is your first red flag. That should be your first sign. Who is invested in me believing this? It is the belief system itself. Or you could call it your ego, whatever word you're comfortable with, doesn't really matter. A positive belief system doesn't really feel the need to do that. It won't feel the need to convince you, because it knows, it's like, well, it's all valid, which one do you prefer? But a negative belief is like a person lying to you that doesn't want to be found out. Or a person that is really, really, really attached to their opinion. And from that we can tell it's not about the opinion or the point of view. It's about what they make it to mean. It's their relationship to their opinion. Could be something like, well, if people don't agree with me, they might think I'm stupid. Which again is a definition or a belief system. And so they don't question that. And so they try really hard to, they argue. And this is what your belief system does with you. And this is why you get all these justifications and rationalizations. Another good example of this is judgment and anger. You will always find thousands of good reasons to judge others, to get angry. And it is those reasons that you need to watch out for. If you can find a reason for doing something, you really need to question it. Because if you know in your heart that something is right and true, you wouldn't need to justify it. You don't need to justify petting a dog. You don't need to justify loving a child. You don't need to justify loving your parents, loving nature. Those things. You don't. And you wouldn't feel a need to if anyone challenged you in it. Another way belief systems make you believe in them is through a reward. And this is a very sneaky one. A reward means that it can make it seem as though your suffering is actually your joy. And the easiest way to look at this is like doing drugs or becoming addicted to drugs. Why do we become addicted? Because there is something inside of us that twists pain and pleasure. Or the pleasure payoff is so strong but very momentarily. And then we do not want to admit to ourselves that the day after or a week after or in 6 months or something like the suffering is very obvious. This is kind of the deal for all of our suffering, especially stuff like depression, which I've dealt with myself. Depression, in my experience, comes from believing negative belief systems, negative definitions for so long that cause and effect are just completely, you can't even see it anymore. Because you're completely living in this world. You can't see the difference between pain and pleasure and what's true and not anymore. So a negative belief system gives you a little reward. It gives you an instant gratification for believing it. So that you get a high, you get a kick out of it. So this is why you always need to take a good look overall at your life and at yourself. You need to be so brutally, painfully honest with yourself. Like, am I really happy and free and at peace? And do I feel compassion and joy and excitement, a relaxation and an openness towards all of life on a very, very, very regular basis? Or not? And if not, that comes from your belief systems and your thoughts. So don't confuse pleasure, a moment of pleasure, for a bigger payoff of suffering. If your mental health and your emotional stability is not, if you can't say for certain, like, yes, this feels amazing, then there is stuff for you to investigate. Not just in moments where you got a new promotion, a new boyfriend, and the sun is shining, and you're like, yes, I'm high on life. and then a day later, a week later, or a month later, you're back in that state of suffering. That is not, freedom. Not really. And you might have belief systems that are causing you to confuse the two and to make trade-offs somewhere. Let's see, another one. Survival. Negative belief systems can only ever stem from fear. So the example that I made in the beginning is actually paramount to everything we're talking about ever. Your natural state is something that we could call love, just for simplifying things. And an absence of love can only, the absence of the experience of love can only ever come through fear. Only. But then that fear translates into all other things. Sadness, pain, suffering, anger, judgment, confusion, agitation. I could go on. So fear. Fear is all we're really dealing with, to be honest. Fear is when you're reacting to your belief systems and thinking that they're real out there in the world. Fear keeps us asleep. Fear keeps us in unconsciousness. So, and fear is very primal, it's very tribal, very ancient. A belief system works in this way. It tells you, okay, hold on. Belief system based in fear, so a negative belief system, will always tell you that if you give up this belief, you're going to die. Now, you must be thinking, well, I don't actually walk around thinking I'm going to die. Yes, you do, but there's another trick that negative belief systems use, which is they hide behind other belief systems. So there's a few core negative beliefs that we all inherit from being human. One core one is the separation, the belief that we are not connected to every molecule that we see here, that consciousness is just one big thing, mind is just one big thing, and all the separation that we see is just, it's because we have physical senses and it appears that way. And then from that one core belief is a few other core beliefs, like I need people's validation, I need people's approval, otherwise I'm going to die. This used to be true in tribal society, so that fear is still inside of us. And I'm unlovable, there's not enough love to go around, I need money to survive. In a way, it all comes back down to the same thing. Fear, 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 separation, 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 one thing. You don't walk around thinking, oh, if that person doesn't say hi, I'm gonna die. But that is actually exactly the mechanism that is activated inside of you. And all of your problems are variations on these themes, on these same thoughts and belief systems. So, I hope that by understanding how negative beliefs work, and that the closer you get to them, the more fearful you will feel, because the belief system feels like it's going to die, which in a sense is true. Once you see the belief system truly for what it is, you're simply not going to choose it anymore. That's all. Remember, the problem is not your thoughts or your belief systems. The problem is buying into them, saying this is real and this is the only thing that's real. Now you can see, actually, I have so many options to believe. The best thing is just to see negative belief and the opposite, a positive belief. The truth is in the middle, and you simply get to neutralize it and therefore automatically slide slightly towards the positive. We need to understand how negative beliefs work and why they make it so hard, why they make it feel like there is no other option. And there is. So if you want more practical ways to identify your negative beliefs and how to work through them and how to apply all this stuff in your life, go to imai@sabine.com/subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.